I'm like, maybe that's why I'm not in building. It looks sturdy.
I cannot. Good to go. Okay. Okay, Chair, we can resume.
Okay, thank you. Let's call the meeting back to order. A little bit louder gavel than intended. Sorry about that.
If CMAP could please put them up, thank you. Okay, there we go. It's progressing up. The first item I would like to present, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, is Major Subdivision Application PLN 250085 on Fraser Lake Road. It's approximately 1 mile northeast of Shore Road and Fraser Lake Road intersection. The project consists of the subdivision of an existing 161.1 acre parcel into 16 lots in the agricultural productive AP zoning district of the county. The applicant is indicating that the reason for the proposed subdivision is to make it easier to sublease the parcels for multiple farmers to lease the property. So that's in the process at the moment. The next one is conditional use permit application PLN 250093 at 1900 Quarry Road in Aromas. And the project consists of an amendment to use permit 460-88A to allow Granite Rock to use additional areas to place reclamation material or waste rock and soil in the vested overburden replacement system at the Wilson Quarry. Benchmark Consultants, the county's consultants, are assisting the county in the preparation of the environmental impact report document pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act. So this is an application that is currently in process at the moment. Conditional use permit application PLN 250094. It's located about 1/3 of a mile north of John Smith Road, east of the Sage Road terminus. The project consists of the installation of 9 panel antennas on an existing water tank located at Sunny Slope Water District property with 2 equipment cabinets, 1 ground-mounted transformer, a standby 30 kilowatt diesel generator, and a screened 147-gallon fuel tank. So that application is currently being processed. Minor subdivision application PLN 260026. The property is located on 1370 Shore Road, and the project consists of the subdivision of an existing 65.7 acre parcel into 3 parcels ranging from 10 to 32 acres with no proposed construction or infrastructure. And that application is currently being processed at the moment. Zone change application PLN 260036. It's located in Trespinos, right off Southside Road. The project consists of the rezone of 2.8 acre parcel zone as single-family residential to commercial thoroughfare. The applicant has indicated that the reason for the request is because they feel the property would have more value as a commercial property rather than residential in the event that Trespinos grows in the future. And so this application is currently in process. Conditional use permit application PLN 260037, located at 5680 Pacheco Pass Highway at the northwest corner of Highway 156 and Fairview Road. The project consists of the construction of a commercial center that includes a 4,900 square foot general market with an ABC alcohol beverage control type 21 license that they're going to be applying for, a 7,300 square foot passenger vehicle energy center, which refers to an electric charging station site, a 2,150 square foot diesel fueling canopy, and a 5,760 square foot vehicle service building, all with associated infrastructure. And that is in the process at the moment of being evaluated. And that concludes the applications that have been submitted thus far with the planning department in the County of San Benito. These are just discretionary applications that come before you. We have a lot more that are ministerial applications through the building permit process. That concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions from the commission for Abraham on this item?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you. We'll move on into item 5, which is general public comment. This is your opportunity to comment on items that are within the proper purview of the Planning Commission, but not on tonight's agenda. So if you have a comment on an item that is on tonight's agenda, please hold off on that until we get to that particular item. Stephanie, can you explain the rules for making a public comment in this part of the meeting?
Yeah, so if you'd like to make a public comment on items not on the agenda, please present the clerk with a public speaker card. For those on Zoom, raise your hand. As a friendly notice, our Zoom audio isn't coming through to the chambers, so if you do raise your hand, I will have you call my county cell phone, 831-718-7960. Again, that's 831-718-7960. However, I have no general public comment cards and no hands via Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll go, sorry?
Before we go on with the consent agenda, I am a curious individual, and I've had other people ask me, and this is not personal, but County Council, can you clarify the legality of having the appointee from District 5 up here after the recall of the supervisor?
Yep, let me get her on the phone.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay,
turn off your Zoom.
muting.
I think you have to turn off your
Okay.
Zoom.
Is the echo resolved now?
Yes.
Okay. So the recall of the District 5 supervisor does not trickle down to its appointed representative on the Planning Commission. Does that answer the question?
Is that in the state code, or where is that coming from? Because people are asking,
And where can that be
and I don't
found?
have an answer.
I'm gonna mute myself on the phone. Can you repeat that question?
Where does that come from in state law? Is that part of the recall law? Is that county council's opinion? Is that the AG's opinion? I'm curious where that comes from.
I don't remember getting it from one place. I had reviewed this prior to this meeting in light of the current structure. Give me
Okay.
one moment.
If you could follow up with an email, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, happy to do so.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Your opinion is it's fine. It's fine. Okay.
Okay,
I would like to say, though, if you're going to get an email, we'd all like to get that email.
Yes.
Yes, I'll send it out to all the commissioners.
And if we do make decisions tonight, we cannot get sued.
you can always get sued.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
And if we make decisions tonight based on this and we find other findings later on, what, can we end up getting sued? Even though I
We
know we
would
can
come
always.
back and reissue those decisions if there is an issue with the Roanoke. But again, my understanding is that does not trickle down. The recall is of the specific elected individual, not of every appointment. And in this instance, if the appointment was later confirmed and moved forward, we don't have it as an automatic revocation. It was only of that elected.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the consent agenda tonight consists of acknowledging the certificate of posting for tonight's meeting, as well as approving the minutes from the regular meeting of June 17th. I'm guessing nobody has an issue with the acknowledging the certificate of posting, but if you do, speak up. Otherwise, does anybody have any corrections to the minutes?
I do.
Okay, please.
The only thing I have is the transmittal form has Commissioner Thomason still on there instead of
Good
Commissioner
catch.
Sanchez.
Good catch.
I have an item. I did not vote yes on the motion at the meeting. I was a no, and it has a 5-0. So I should be a no. I was
Oh
on the battery storage.
Yeah, I do remember one of them was 4-1.
Okay, we will make those changes.
Thank you.
Would you like to adopt with those changes to be reviewed by the chair later, or do you want this to come back to you?
I would rather just adopt with those changes to be reviewed.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Moving on into regular agenda. And I put the San Benito High School District item first for a couple reasons, but mainly because the time is so short on this one. Today is the last day that we could actually render an opinion on this, so I wanted to give us time to hear and give advice. So if we could go ahead with item 7.1, which is the high school district changes, the property swap acquisition. Well, I don't need to summarize it. You'll go into the details, I'm sure.
Yeah, CMAP, if you could please pull up our presentation. I have County Counsel Rebecca Mojica, and she will provide this presentation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chairway and members of the Commission. So this is staff's presentation of the San Benito High School District proposed disposition of APN 019120009 and acquisition of APN 019110019, both related to the district's plans for a new high school campus. So I'll briefly cover the governing statutes, the prior site review, and the two current transactions, and the general plan policies that inform our analysis. So I will close with our recommendations before the Commission proceeds to discussion and ultimately public comment and recommendation. Next slide, please. So tonight's presentation covers the sites and backgrounds, some of the statutory framework, the transaction history, the current properties, the applicable general plan policies, analysis, and recommendation. I'll distinguish the two transactions throughout before we turn to Commission questions and public comment. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are the relevant sites to today's discussion. You'll see the yellow at the top. That is the property set that was previously noticed and is now being set for disposition. So they will be selling this property. In blue, those were previously noticed and there's no changes at this time to those two parcels. And in pink, that is the property set for acquisition. Okay. And you can see it here cited around its neighboring parcels or their neighboring parcels. Next slide, please. So the Government Code Section 65402 requires the location, purpose, and extent of a proposed acquisition and disposition to be submitted to the planning agency for report on general plan conformity. So under this section, the Commission has 40 days from submission to issue that report, which would give us from the July 20th notice an August 29th deadline. If the Commission doesn't report within that period, it's the transaction that they're conducting is deemed in conformity with the general plan. If the Commission disapproves, the district may still choose to overrule that disapproval, and the Commission's report nevertheless creates a public record and provides the district with the county's planning analysis. Next slide, please. Under the Public Resources Code, Section 21151.2, this section applies to the proposed acquisition of the new school site. It requires written notice, a commission investigation, and a written report with a recommendation within 30 days. As previously flagged by Chair Wei, today is the 30-day reporting deadline, and when we'll be responding to the school district. So the school district cannot acquire title until the report is received, and if the report does not favor the acquisition, they must wait an additional 30 days after receiving it. The statute is intended to promote pupil safety and a comprehensive community planning. Okay, next slide, please. The Education Code, Section 17215.5, has additional requirements when a proposed site is designated for agricultural and zoned for agricultural production. And this proposed acquisition site is. Before acquisition, the district's governing board must document county consultation, evaluate the site based on all factors affecting the public interest, not just the cost of the land, and address public health and safety issues from neighboring agricultural uses. Those requirements reinforce the need to examine whether the school use is compatible with the nearby agricultural operations and the surrounding setting. Next slide, please. So government code sections 65352.2 and section 53094. So 65352 requires notice to the commission before adoption of certain long-range school site plans and allows the county to request a meeting with the district within 15 days. And government code 53094 allows the district's governing board by not just a majority, but by a 2/3 vote to render the county zoning inapplicable in a proposed school use. But that's only after compliance with the other sections we've discussed. So the review before the commission tonight is a prerequisite to any zoning override the district may later pursue. And this is something that came up in the prior disposition and acquisition a few years ago. Next slide. So now we're going to go over some of the background, summarizing prior site review and the commission's 2024 action. Next slide. So in September of 2024, the district notified the county of its intent to acquire about just under 50 acres on Wright Road for the proposed high school. And a couple months later, noticed that it would be adding an additional about 14 acres to that campus site. Later in November, the commission held a public meeting and unanimously recommended the disapproval of those 3 sites. And the following month in December, it issued a formal report identifying conflicts with the county's ag policies surrounding farm operations, transportation needs, and environmental requirements. Next slide. So some of the key findings that the commission relayed would found that the original site would place the high school in productive farmland, including prime farmland and farmland of statewide importance, as well as being near parcels protected by Williamson Act contracts. Because the area is designated zoned agricultural productive, the commission viewed a high school as an incompatible use that could threaten the continued viability of surrounding farm operations. And the report also identified that significant traffic and circulation needs were present, including need for improvements to Wright Road, a signalized intersection at Highway 25, a separated bike and pedestrian facilities, and finally recommended a full CEQA EIR and mitigation for at least 1-to-1 for converted prime farmland. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so this is the originally proposed high school site on the map here. There were 3 parcels. The blue is 2 parcels. And the district now proposes to dispose of the yellow one in the map. Next slide. So now we're going to go over the project here and with July 2026 notices. And one is to dispose of a property and one is to acquire of another, and I'll address each of them. Next slide. So here's a snippet of one of their notices to the county. It was sent via email and certified mail to planning and combines both the government code and public resource code section notices that we briefly mentioned at the very start of this presentation. The separate disposition letter only invokes the government code section, and both letters were signed by Superintendent Sean Tenenbaum. And I'll now address each of these. So the next slide, please. So as mentioned, the yellow parcel is the one proposed for disposition. Next slide, please. So some details on that is it is approximately 49.68 acres. It's located off of Wright Road. And the purpose is to acquire the property as they're considering it more suited for the new high school. The purpose is to acquire other property considered more suited for the new high school and returning this parcel to agricultural use. So this is the same parcel that formed part of the original site in the recommendation disapproving in 2024. And based on that, staff finds no general plan conformity concern with disposing of this parcel. It's consistent with returning it to its existing agricultural designation and use, and continues to support agricultural land preservation. Next slide. So this map just confirms the disposition parcel and the surrounding area have an agricultural land use designation. And next slide. And the related agricultural productive zoning. And this is from our county GIS map. Next slide. So this is the notice to the county regarding the acquisition of the property, and is screenshotted there, as previously mentioned, signed by Superintendent Tenenbaum. Next slide, please. Okay, here is each of the parcels as previously discussed, and here the pink parcel is the one proposed for acquisition. Next slide, please. The parcel is approximately 33.58 acres. It's in unincorporated San Benito County, and the proposed use is for construction and operation of the high school's district's new high school and related improvements. The district intends to use the entire parcel, which is currently designated agricultural and zoned agricultural productive, and the site lacks existing urban infrastructure or public facilities. Although it is smaller than the original 63.66 acre site, it presents similar issues in that it would be converting designated agricultural land into an institutional school use. Next slide, please. Here's a map of the agricultural land use designation as well as the surrounding properties. Next slide shows the agricultural productive zoning, as previously mentioned. Within that zoning, a high school is not a permitted use, and the district would need a zoning change or use that previously mentioned code section to override to develop the school site or the site for school purposes. Now, next slide, please. We'll transition into the legal and policy overview. So with that factual context in place and in our minds, I'll summarize the general plan and sequence standards governing the agricultural lands, traffic and circulation, and school siting. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the agricultural land use designation is intended to maintain productivity of ag lands, especially prime farmland, and it applies to productive cropland, vineyard, grazing land. Permitted uses include agricultural support uses, necessary public facilities, and one principal residence per lot. So high school campus would not be a permitted or conditionally permitted use, as previously mentioned. These areas generally have limited public infrastructure, as at the proposed acquisition site, which is part of the siting concern here, similar to the previously discussed and reported on site. Next slide, please. Regarding prime farmland and Williamson Act contracts, the proposed acquisition is in an area mapped as prime farmland, and it itself is not a Williamson Act contract, but there are some on adjacent parcels. The setting confirms that the area's agricultural character, while it is neighboring farms, will continue operating and may create land use conflicts, which we would recommend asking the district to address. CEQA, as you know, requires analysis of potential prime land conversion and conflicts with Williamson Act contracts. Any loss of prime agricultural soil would be seen as permanent and irreversible, which is another thing to note. Next slide, please. Okay, so general plan policies relating to agricultural lands. The general plan's land use guiding principles direct the county to preserve productive prime land or prime ag land, maintain agriculture as a major economic sector, and separate communities from prime farmland. The agricultural designation's purpose is an operative land use standard, not just an aspiration, and those principles weigh against converting the proposed site to a non-agricultural campus or use. Next slide. So goal LE3 calls for long-term preservation of the agricultural industry by protecting ag areas from incompatible urban uses. Also, the right to farm policy protects continued agricultural operations, and it calls for a one-to-one preservation on prime farmland when Class 1 soils are seen as permanently converted. So together, these policies support staff's proposed compensatory mitigation for ag land loss. Next slide. Relating to traffic and circulation, the general plan requires a safe, efficient, and reliable road system and maintenance of level of service D at all locations. It also promotes safe routes to school and safe pedestrian and bicycle access, which are particularly important in the rural setting. The same access concerns were identified for the original site and remain relevant to this proposal. As you'll note back on the map, the parcels are close together. Next slide, please. Okay. Under CEQA, it requires analysis of whether the project would convert prime, unique, or farmland of statewide importance to non-agricultural use, or if it would conflict with agricultural zoning or Williamson Act contracts. It's an environmental requirement, not just a policy preference, and a full EIR should identify any feasible mitigation or related impacts. The Commission's prior recommendation for an EIR remains relevant here for those same reasons. Next slide. Okay, CEQA also requires analyzing circulation conflicts or traffic hazards. So that includes interactions between student traffic and farm equipment and emergency access. For this rural site here, the traffic study must account for peak hours school traffic and demonstrate safe vehicle, pedestrian, and bicycle access, as well as adequate emergency access and maintenance of that level of service D that's identified by the general plan. Okay, next slide. Specific to school sites, policies favor locations that are consistent with current and future land uses, near residential areas with safe walking and bike access, and coordinated to reduce incompatible adjacent uses. The proposed acquisition site is isolated in an agricultural area without that existing infrastructure or residential access, which creates a policy concern. Next slide, please. Okay, so with that framework, building on the factual backing, we're going to turn to some analysis. Next slide. Okay, so there are two different conclusions for each transaction. Regarding the disposition, we believe that's consistent with the general plan because the parcel will return to ag use, which was previously part of the site, and the Commission's recommended disapproval at the prior 2024 recommendation. The acquisition, on the other hand, is not seen as consistent. The proposed high school is not permitted under the agricultural designation or ag productive zoning, and further, it conflicts with the general plan's protections of agricultural land. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, some consideration. So here we identify 6 considerations for the Commission's report: a full CEQA EIR, a comprehensive traffic study, similar to previous with many of these recommendations, at least one-to-one agricultural mitigation, a safe routes to school access analysis, identifying agricultural uses within at least a half mile of the site boundary, as well as continued attention to the Commission's prior concerns from 2024. Specific to the EIR, it should address ag land, traffic and circulation, safety, evacuation, growth-inducing efforts, and land use compatibility. Traffic and access analyses should demonstrate safe vehicle, pedestrian, and bicycle access, the level of service, and identify any necessary improvements, as well as be consistent with the safe routes to school requirements and related policies. Any mitigation should include preserving equal prime farmland and farmland of statewide importance within the unincorporated county, while the district assesses nearby ag uses and potential conflicts. Those 2024 concerns, so ag conversion, traffic, safety, infrastructure, remain applicable despite the parcel changing here. Next slide. So now we're going to transition on to recommendations based on that analysis. Next slide. This item asks the Commission to determine general plan conformity for both transactions and direct any additional recommendations for the formal report. Staff recommends finding the disposition of the parcel, which is APN 019120009, as consistent with the general plan because the parcel would be returning to agricultural use. Separately, staff recommends finding the acquisition of 019110019 is inconsistent because its agricultural designation, ag productive zoning, and the general plan's agricultural protections not supporting the proposed high school's siting. If the district pursues a high school here, the report should recommend a full CEQA EIR addressing agricultural, traffic, safety, evacuation, growth-inducing, and land use impacts. I should also recommend identifying all existing ag uses within a quarter mile of the site to assess any potential conflicts with things being produced on those parcels. And finally, it should recommend at least a one-to-one mitigation for agricultural land loss, a comprehensive traffic study, and a safe access analysis for vehicles, pedestrians, and bicyclists. Chairway, that does conclude staff's presentation, and we're open for questions before public comment is appropriate. But I would like to flag, as mentioned at the start of this presentation, this is the last day for some of the part of this response, and so we are hoping to receive this feedback in order to finalize any details in the letter as a draft was attached to this packet, and get it prepared to be sent off to the district at the close of the meeting today.
Right. Thank you. Before we move into questions from the commission for you, Rebecca, I should have disclosed that I did have a brief conversation with Carson Clower about a week ago. Don't hold me to that date. It was literally less than 5 minutes, and all it was for him to give me a heads up on what was coming. I didn't make any commitments or express any opinion one way or another. So just for what it's worth. Any other disclosures of any sort?
Sure. I actually forgot, but I had a similar conversation with Mr. Clower.
Okay, then questions from the commission for county council or staff?
Richard?
Yes, please.
So I'm seeing county council that on the acquisition considerations, there's a 1/2 mile boundary on agricultural use identification. Am I not understanding then in the planning commission recommendation slide, there's a 1/4 mile? Are those different categories that it goes to a 1/4 mile on your recommendation slide?
No, I believe that was a typo on
Thank you.
my end. Sorry for the echo.
So we should be at half mile or quarter mile?
Sorry, I muted the wrong one. Let me double check. It would be the one in the letter draft. I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, there is a draft of the letter in here. I'm having a little trouble finding it this minute.
Page 38.
Thank you.
I don't see that it specified the half mile or quarter mile in the letter.
Ah,
But I'm reviewing.
well, is it important that we get that into the letter? I'm kind of asking the other commissioners as well as council.
Do we have a policy?
Repeat the question.
Do we have a policy that designates half mile or quarter mile in the general plan? Maybe we just follow that.
Are we hearing from the applicant from the school district?
We will, I'm sure. So do we have a resolution on this question at this point, or?
She probably needs more time
Okay, well, while you look into that, let's, before we open up public comment, I think the applicant may want to say something, perhaps? Or perhaps not?
Yeah, Sean Tenenbaum would like to speak. Sean, you can please approach the public podium. Yeah.
Go to the slide deck, sir.
Sure. Let me turn on your mic.
Thank you.
And what slide would you like?
I think the most appropriate would be the actual map of the area. I'll let you know when we get there. Keep going.
You want the one with all three?
Yeah, it had the, I think it was green. Perfect. So this is for Commissioner Way. It's our official record for you. But thank you very much. It's an honor to come before you, Commissioners. I think this is my third time coming before you on the same topic. And on behalf of the district, I'm going to share a few talking points. So thank you very much for having me, and thank you to the staff for preparing another excellent presentation. So the district appreciates the Commission's recognition of the community's need for a new high school and its conclusion that the proposed disposition of Pura Vida raises no general plan conformity issues. So thank you. Regarding statutory notification process, which was noted in your slide deck as well as your letter. The district has provided the county with statutory notice of its intent to dispose of Pura Vida and acquire Thomas Orchards. The district has also considered the Commission's comments regarding general plan consistency, agricultural preservation, transportation, and related policies. Disposing of Pura Vida in response to concerns. After evaluating multiple factors, including campus configuration, site access, community input, and the district's broader facility and community needs, the district determined that disposing of Pura Vida, consistent with the Williamson Act, would best serve the district's long-term planning objectives, including the collaborative development of the second high school. So ultimately, why we're acquiring Thomas Orchards. The district is not abandoning a second high school in the BV corridor. Rather, it is pivoting to an east-west campus configuration supported by the California Department of Education, their siting criteria, and intended to provide better access for the surrounding community. And I'll note, proximity to population centers, and a student-centered site selection. I believe each time I've come before the commission, I've shown you our heat map and where our targeted student population is in relation to that particular property. And if we look at the map right there, and we look at the blue piece of parcel, which is the Borelli Felice parcel that we came the last time, the majority of our students are on the west side of town, and it is our most densely populated student area in the district boundaries. I'll come back one more time. In terms of the populations and centers, that is not an isolated piece of farmland. It is actually contiguous and adjacent to current residential development and a particular piece there down below the magenta or pink color, which is a planned approved development and has site work already on it. I'll also note for the commission that the last time we talked and the last time I came before you, we talked about reducing vehicle miles traveled and or VMT. This would create a walkable, bikeable neighborhood school. I had the opportunity today, as I've probably done 100 times, to go by Calaveras Elementary when the school is being let out to see how many students walk, bike, and or use some type of pedestrian and or bicycle to get to and from school. I would encourage all of you to do the same as I'm watching sibling walking younger sibling, grandmother walking granddaughter. That is a true family-oriented neighborhood school, and we would like to add to that and bolster that. In terms of the adherence to compacted growth goals, infill nesting, and the sphere of influence and efficiency, you can see by this map itself that the city's SOI is actually West Side Road, so we are contiguous and adjacent in terms of our acquiring of this particular property. Infrastructure and utility efficiency, we've discussed this numerous times. There are wastewater treatment, sewer, water, and fiber in West Side Road because they're feeding that residential development. So disposing of Puerto Vida is actually a smart financial decision, as well as reducing the encroachment on farm and ag land, and I think a very wise overall decision for the district and in support of the community. Last but not least, one of the things that I find great joy in is watching the multimodal approach that students take to and from school. What do I mean by that? So we talked a little bit about walking, biking, you have the e-bikes, you have skateboards, you have all kinds of different modes of transportation that kids are taking to the high school. And I encourage you to take a look at that particular area as a neighborhood school and to see what's happening at Calaveras and AAA because that would only support that environment, which is a goal of both County of San Benito as well as the City of Hollister. And last but not least, this notice did not go on deaf ears. I think it was well taken in our first conversation and our second conversation, as well as your slide deck is really looking at the impact on farmland and the impact to the overall area. So this particular piece of land would have less impact, less encroachment on the BV corridor, and your comments previously were well taken and well heard. And then last but not least, on behalf of the district, as we continue our internal planning process, we will consider all relevant factors in developing plans for the Thomas Orchard site. The Thomas Orchard's acquisition is part of a broader, deliberate effort to secure a site capable of supporting a future high school campus that not only meets our educational needs, but also access, safety, and the needs of the community. So thank you very much, and I'm open to questions if the commission has any.
Thank you. Questions from the commission for the superintendent?
Good afternoon or evening. You cited a study that I believe you did, or maybe I misunderstood that, or was there a study to say that this is the best location?
I cited no study.
You cited no study? Should there be a study to see if this is the best location?
Well, I think that's a matter of preference. So when we took into consideration, I shared this the first time I came before you, the second time I came before you, we gathered a community group, a facility needs committee that was comprised of over 60 members, some of which are in your audience today and work for you. And we took a look at the criteria for site selection. The criteria for site selection were advisory and recommended to our Board of Trustees, which adopted them, and there were 10 of them. The second piece, and probably the most important piece, in terms of citing a school, is the California Department of Education and their site selection criteria. So I have been meeting with the California Department of Education representatives for going on 6 years. They are well aware of that particular location in terms of the criteria to approve a school site selection. So I hope that helps.
Okay. I feel like I should ask the question, has there been a study or, to see if there are any protected salamanders on that site?
In part of our process, any agency in developing a piece of land, we would go through those regulatory studies when we actually have a project. Right now, we're acquiring land, and when we have the opportunity to go before the next step, we would go through our EIR, and we would go through all of the safety and access and the circulation. So yes, that will come in due time.
Yeah, that would come out in that study, but have you looked at it at all? Has anybody thought, it seems to be such a big issue with, and maybe rightfully so, so I would like to think that before everybody starts getting excited about something, that they would do some of these basic studies.
Thank you, Commissioner Ringhead. My name is Carson Clower. I'm a representative of the district as a broker and a land use consultant. I'm a registered lobbyist with San Diego County, and I filed my paperwork that mentioned the same conversations that the commissioners did. In terms of the tiger salamander, you have, as a county and as a state, have a map where you have areas that are designated as need to be reviewed for tiger salamander. This location is not on that map. In fact, I'm sure somebody else is going to bring up the best road location for another property that the district owns. That is on that map as needing to be studied and probably mitigated for tiger salamander. The fact that this property or these several parcels has been tilled for 100 years or 150 years makes it very unlikely that you're going to have the type of critters that are going to hold up a project like this. There will be factors that need to be mitigated, as mentioned by your attorney, but I would be very surprised if the tiger salamander is one of those.
To kind of expand on that, Commissioner, the district has done its due diligence on each parcel that we procured. So we've done soil sampling, we've done a preliminary Title V study for each of them to bring before our board prior to approving the purchase of a property.
I had, I think it was the last time you were here, had gone and looked at that site and talked to some of the neighbors I drove through. Was it, I forgot the name of that road now. But you have residents, you have all these residents here, and then this beautiful farmland on the other side. That would kind of be, that if you were to build a high school there, that would kind of be, you'd have ag land on both sides.
Can we put the map back up, Stephanie?
If we look at the map, as Superintendent Tenenbaum said, you do have residential development directly south of the blue property there, and to the east of the purple. He also mentioned the property, which is kind of like a hazy white color, that's just to the left of that subdivision, that has been approved for multifamily housing by the city already. That's got a tentative map. As mentioned, there's dirt work going on that. To the left or the west of the purple property, that's not ag ground anymore. That is a solar farm. So really, on 2 of the 4 sides of this property, you don't have ag ground. And when you take into consideration that we're trying to dispose of the Pure Vita site, which extends much further north and would have a much larger impact on ag ground as opposed to the purple one, which I think it's fair to say that when you look at the shape of where the development is already, that the property to the south of that, the Gomes property, is eventually going to be something. I hear all the time that smaller parcels aren't tenable for farmers, so I would expect that the area to the south will be not farm ground for at some point in the future.
Okay, thank you. And then that is West Side Road right there, is that correct?
That is correct.
That's a really small road. and you're going to have a bunch of traffic. My thoughts are that, man, how many students will be going there? How will it affect the traffic? And then secondly, how would it affect if you tap into the sewer and water? Would it have any effect on that area for water and such, for sewage?
Yeah.
That's your plan, right? To tap it. That's where your junction is for your water and your sewage.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So
as part of the approval process, the district would have to do the SEQA review that's going to flag all of the lower level of service intersections and improvements and have a circulation plan. Sewer and water is not a problem capacity-wise. They've got an issue at the city with the quality, but it's not a problem capacity-wise. So you may have to upsize some pipes here or there, but that's all items that would be considered in the review of the actual project.
I would just say sewer and water seems to be an issue everywhere, but thank you. Those are my questions for now.
Other questions? Yes, please.
Yes, I do. Seems to me by looking at this map that these parcels are landlocked. Am I right or wrong?
Can you describe landlocked?
Where's the main road? Buena Vista's a half-mile away. Wright Road's about a mile away. And you got that little, I can't even read it on this map.
Gonzales and North Miller Road.
Is that what that is? To
you
me,
have-
they're dirt roads, aren't they?
They are not.
Oh, they aren't.
No.
When did they pave them?
You have actually 3 access points. You have west side running east and west and east.
The only roads that I see that are paved is Buena Vista Road, going east and west.
Uh-huh.
And then, according to this map, you got a Miller, is that Miller Road? That goes down alongside that subdivision, that open land?
Yeah, you have
So
Miller Road.
my question is, where are you gonna punch a full 2-lane road to get all that traffic in and out of there? And where are you gonna dump it on?
So, I'm projecting, just guessing here because I'm not a traffic consultant, but I envision having to expand West Side Road all the way in for the full frontage of the property. You're probably going to have either an expansion or a redo of Miller Road, and you're going to need to have another access to the west.
And who pays for all that?
That's going to be
County?
To be completely clear, we're here to seek your input, but the idea is
That's why
that
I'm
this would
asking.
go into the city because that's where the sewer service is, that's where the water service is. So this is a step that we're taking with you guys, but this is not proposed to be in the county right now. And we expect that the city would probably also want the parcels that are to the south but adjacent to city land on the east and the west to also be brought in to accommodate the traffic upgrades that would need to take place.
Okay.
Commissioner Gibson.
I'll just say that I'm glad you're getting rid of the Pura Vida. That makes my heart warm. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And I actually have one question, unless maybe Commissioner Sanchez, did you have questions?
No.
Okay. I think I heard you say, Superintendent Tannenbaum, that there would be an EIR.
Correct.
Okay, thank
On
you.
any project of this magnitude, we are required to do an EIR.
Right, but that wasn't clear the last time, so, or at least it wasn't explicit last time, so thank you. Also, this paper that I have is a response to tonight's recommendation. We haven't made a recommendation. I just want to point that out. We haven't opened for public comment. We haven't discussed it. We haven't voted on it. So this seems premature to me. But in any event, maybe it won't be premature by the time we finish. Other questions for the applicant before we move on to public comment? Okay, then let's go ahead and open public comment. I'm sorry, go ahead, Stephanie.
County Council was saying something, Rebecca?
Yeah, if I could just clarify the earlier question regarding the 1/4 mile. So under the general plan, public facilities and service element, that was the PFS 10.8 that was quoted, and that's new land uses near schools, and that's the county shall prohibit the siting of new land uses or facility uses that store, emit, treat, or dispose of large quantities of hazardous material within 1/4 mile of an existing public or private school facility. And that's the one that's specified, and that's what the recommendation was based off of. The other one, the half mile is not a codified recommendation. It's just in light of the surrounding uses.
Thank you for checking that.
I'm just curious, do we have a list of what would be considered hazardous materials?
And I believe it is defined, yes.
Okay. Then I think we're ready to open for public comment.
Okay, for those of you in chambers, please provide me with a public speaker card. For those in Zoom, please raise your hand, and then when I call on your name, you will call my phone number, 831-718-7960. One more time, that's 831-718-7960. Okay, so we'll start with those in chambers. When I call your name, please approach the public podium, and you will have 3 minutes. So we're going to start with Neil.
Hi, I thought you were going to dispose of the property on West Road 25, so my comment would be towards that, so I can come back later, or I can make comment now about that. Should I come back at another meeting?
Up to you.
Okay, since I'm here, I'll just go ahead and make it. The property there has extremely shallow soil with a high clay content, about a foot deep. The water already has, in the neighboring area, has arsenic contamination, chromium-6, and extremely high TDS. That property does not yet have access to sunny slope water, does not have access to sewer, and if you take 900 properties, which are theoretically proposed, times 5,000 gallons per household each, and if all that water went into a leach line or a leach field, that's an awful lot of water to bring up high TDS salt and distribute massively to that area. There's a couple wells within the neighboring area, and that much sewage may or may not be an issue with adjacent wells. You probably already obviously know that Sunny Slope doesn't have plans to provide water to that, and maybe the city doesn't either, but I just hope you guys take that into consideration. Maybe the developer is going to sue to get access to water and sewer, I don't know. But just something to take into consideration. And then I also like to have a question. How did that site not get, there was a proposal for the high school site. Now it's not, apparently. Is there any reason why that went out? Can I ask that question? Sorry.
I don't think we're able to answer that, both from the standpoint of, interacting with the audience in this manner and with the public in this manner, and in terms of not knowing the answer.
Well, that's fine.
The only party who would know the answer would probably be the school district itself. And I would encourage you to perhaps ask Superintendent Tannenbaum separately, I guess.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Celeste Toledo Bocanegra.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome
friends.
back.
Thank you. So originally, I wanted speak for under public comment, but Commissioner Gibson shared my sentiments, so thank you for that earlier. In regards to this project, I felt the need to speak on behalf of this project because I was born and raised in that area here in Hollister. I lived off of Miller and Buena Vista my entire life, and now I'm on Bridgeville and Buena Vista. And growing up throughout the years and seeing farmland, which is beautiful land to me. I also worked at the Thomas Orchards that was my first job at 13 years old, cutting apricots. But many of those parcels are not being used for farmland anymore across my home, I can see it's a sore eye seeing the solar panels, and an upgrade of a high school would be better, as I know traffic would be an issue, but we already have extreme traffic under Buena Vista when people are headed to work in the Santa Clara area, right? So they're leaving. Buena Vista is another main road that people use going towards 156. So it would be just a continued use of road. And then for the, the tiger salamanders, I don't think there are any. I've never seen any. And due to some of the parcels being used still for crops, I can't imagine crops growing with salamanders living there. And then as far as the road being upgraded, like I said, born and raised on Buena Vista, that's one of the roads I run from east to west on a daily basis. And it's about 1.5 miles stretch. I would enjoy seeing an upgrade, especially right now because of all the roads and how much everything's, the roads upkeep is costing. Being able to see any road on that area, an upgrade on it, and pedestrian walkways or bicycle walkway for children would also benefit the community on the west side, because that area is a lower income area for communities. And throughout my entire life, we never had a pedestrian path walk, right? So being able to see one would be nice compared to running down Fairview or possibly running down because now there's upgrades up there, or the new homes. So thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Maureen Nelson.
Before we have the next speaker, can I just ask, can the speaker see the clock with the current configuration of the, it seems to me like it might be really hard to see the clock from the podium. No, you cannot. Yeah, so I don't know, can we turn that clock so that the speaker can see how much time they have left?
We can try.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. That's probably better. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, sorry for the interruption.
Sorry.
Good evening. My name's Maureen Nelson. I won't even take up the 3 minutes, but thank you for changing the clock. I find it interesting that we had an opportunity to have a college, Gavilan College, adjacent to a high school. Back in the caveman era, when I was in high school, I graduated early. I graduated after 3 years. I stayed for an extra semester because I was a whopping 16 years of age. I took college courses, and it was an advantage to me to be able to start my college degree at an early age and go on and get additional degrees beyond that. I thought that it was an amazing opportunity to have students available to be able to take their high school classes and supplement in their college courses while they were still in high school. Get a foot ahead, as the saying goes. And now to move the opportunity for a college to have a high school adjacent to it on the same property per se and take it to the west side seems a little out of sync. I understand that there's growth in all boundaries of San Benito County, but we only have one college at this point. I think we ought to take a second look at what makes the most sense for our students and for their future. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, Commission, can I just respond to a quick comment?
Yes, if it's quick.
I appreciate that. So we currently have 500 students that are dual enrolled with Gavilan College right now. So that means that we have 500 current high school students that are accessing junior college on our campus right now. It is not a matter of proximity. It is not a matter of location. We are in agreement with them. We've had that agreement. It's been over 500 students a year for the last 3 years. Many of our faculty members and teachers are dual faculty members with Gavilan and the high school district. I appreciate the comment. We've addressed that, but it's not a matter of location or proximity. It's a matter of having an agreement and having that agreement work for both parties. So,
Thank you.
Okay, Annette Perez.
Hello, thank you, commissioners. I'm just going to go to talk to you about this proposed facility for the high school. I really think that Best Road is best suited, or I think some kind of study needs to be done as I look around in the new homes that are being proposed in that area. There's Fairview Corners, there's Lands of Lee, there's the Brighton at KB Homes, there's Santana Ranch, there's the Cottages, Clover, Eagle Crest, Verdant. All of these are at Fairview. High Grove at Fairview, Calabria Homes, homes that were just built on the other side of the golf course there. So there's tons of new homes being built right there. And I think that I'm not sure why Best Road wasn't considered. I think there needs to be much more of a study done. I used to drop my grandson off at Calavera School, and that road, Buena Vista, is so impacted. It was kind of scary dropping off my grandson. So I think that putting a high school there is just, I'm not sure which road they would use, and I think it would be really kind of poor planning. So I just think that some more planning should be put in that, and I just don't think taking prime farmland and near Highway 25 and all that area is already super impacted, and I think that there's a much better place for our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is all the public speaker cards that I have, and I have no hands via Zoom.
Okay, given that two people have now asked about why Best Road is not being considered any longer, if I have the ability to do so, which I think Rebecca can tell me whether I do or not, I would like to invite Superintendent Tannenbaum back up to perhaps answer that question publicly, if you wish to.
That's fine.
well, thank you, Commissioner and Commission. Since we've already had a public comment, which kind of opened up the Best Road topic, I assume we're going to keep going down that path. Carson will join me a little bit here, and so I'm going to come back to a couple of key factors. The district evaluated 24 different sites throughout the county of San Benito for a potential second high school. Obviously, the Best Road property has been in our possession since 1997, and it was identified as a potential school site. We evaluated through the Board of Trustees those 24 sites, looking at everything from fault lines, floodplains, tiger salamander, soil samples, PG&E pressure lines, overhead lines, etc., and safety access and circulation. And when we take a look at the opportunity that presents itself in the BV corridor to create that walkable, bikeable neighborhood school that has the size and acreage that we need to be able to build a comprehensive public high school, number two, and then what we have in terms of Best Road. So the board did evaluate both sites, and the board went through an extensive review and took into many factors. If we take a look at Best Road on its surface, it is a site that is roughly a little bit larger than our current configuration, but it is bordered by Airline Highway. And then when we take a look at our targeted student population and simply the students in our district boundaries, we do not have students in a high volume or a high magnitude in South County. And so every student that would be going to the Best Road site would be coming by some type of automobile. There is no walkability. I heard some mention of Lands of Lee. That is a couple parcels away in terms of that. Ridgemark is across a highway. We had this discussion before. So the board took into consideration the proximity of our target student population as well as those environmental and safety factors. Carson, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, thank you. Just as a quick reminder, this all started as the Facilities Needs Committee, which was like 2023. There's about 75 people from the community that were on that. We looked at all the different reasons why you would place a school here or there. Accessibility was big. The current student population was big. The potential student population was big. I know when you look at a map and you see the Best Road property and you say, oh, there's a development here and here, it's far. If you were going to walk it, it's far and you don't have access. If you're going to ride a bike, you better have your helmet on and a road bike because it's far. There's probably, and I'm guessing, but there's probably close to 1,000 students within the distance from this proposed site that would be less than 20 students on the Best Road site. There's just so few students out there. When you look at the density of the west side, the housing is much denser. I really doubt that the county is going to allow for dense housing in that whole area to mirror what you see already in existence on the west side. Other factors that came up: physical, political, and market constraints. So when you look at the Best Road site, it's in a fire zone. Part of it is pretty darn close to a fault zone. I'm helping somebody else with a small project across the street, and we're doing our CEQA review. There's like dozens of protected plants and animals that are in this area. The situation at the district, you have 3,500 kids on the current campus. It's going to take at least 6 to 8 years to build another high school. We do not have the time to deal with dozens and dozens of plants and animals and the takings and the mitigation and everything involved with that. And that's like one thing. You don't have water there. You don't have access to public water. Hopefully the district site gets brought into Sunny Slope, but the project that's being put in place would not be able to serve that type of project. You don't have sewer service. It doesn't make sense environmentally to have a batch plant on a high school site. And if you're out there, that's what it's going to be, or you've got to have a line that goes all the way into town, and that's an agreement that does not seem politically feasible with the county, with a developer, with the city. It would be in Sunny Slope County Water District sewer service area. They don't have capacity. They do not want to take any more sewer capacity. I personally think that site could be a good site at some point, but it would be like decades. We don't have the time. You're going to have 4,500 kids on campus in 6 to 8 years. They've got the numbers. But just kind of going back, the Facilities Needs Committee spent a year on this. The Board of Trustees looked at it. We don't have the heat map, but the student population, it's very clear where the kids are. And if the west side is where the kids are, and it's where the utilities are, and it's where the district can make the most impact on the community, that's where we need to be as a high school.
Thanks. Given what we've just learned, is there perhaps additional public comment now based on what we've just learned, we've just heard?
Commissioner Way, before
yes.
Any folks come up, and thank you for doing that, I really appreciate it. I just want to end with this one. What Carson is sharing and myself were sharing, this is after 1,000 meetings or more with our community members. Some of the meetings were held with you. So we listened intently. We gathered feedback. We gathered input. We gathered a tremendous amount of information before presenting that to the board and allowing them to have an evaluation of which particular site. And the last thing that I want to share with you, and thank you for the opportunity, is the number one thing that we heard was making sure that we were targeting our student population and we were contiguous with current residential development and future residential development to create that neighborhood school. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Stephanie, is there now public comment based on that?
No one's provided me with a public speaker card. Would anyone like to address any further items? Annette Perez, please approach the podium. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring up another point. I did see that at Kmart, there was going to be a charter school going in there, K through 12. So and the other thing I wanted to point out, I did hear him say that the student population is just not there. But at Santana Ranch, if it takes 6 years to build a high school, they're impacted. They are at maximum capacity and turning students away in our neighborhood. So all those kids will need a high school. So yes, South County is going to need a high school. I doubt that that is not being considered. I mean, that is really something to think about too before we use ag land. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no additional public comment, then public comment is closed, and we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion and potential action. I do note that we do have a draft of a letter beginning on our packet, page 37, that might serve as a foundation for what we may want to do, or we may want to do the opposite.
I move to approve per staff recommendation. I think we beat this horse past the point of nothing being left to it. So let's just move along.
Well,
I don't think we're going to be changing anything.
I would like
have
to at
no
least
intention
allow
of-
for some discussion first, if anybody wants.
There's
if
no
any-
second yet, so
commission.
keep going. I just don't want to be here till 9 discussing the high school site. Because we don't have the authority to overrule their board.
No, I understand that, but I still
Seems like
don't want
people
to.
don't understand that, though. People are talking about the other best road site that's not even on this agenda. I think we need to wrap it up, Chair.
Well, I think that if you don't mind, that we may not have, they may have the final decision and they may override us in 30 days on whatever we decide, but our voice still matters.
Mhm.
And it still needs to be heard.
Exactly.
They just came here to say they came before us. They're gonna do what they want tomorrow anyhow, if he signs that draft or not. So I'm with Robert. Let's just move on. They're gonna do what they want to do no matter what we say or do. They're just here because they have to be here.
Well, I think your constituents want to know how you feel about it.
Well, you know how I feel about it? There's other
Yeah.
places out there besides this place right here. There's other
Right, so
places
they're
out
not
there.
going to know that you feel that way because they're going to make their own decision. You're just going to let them have,
There's
without
second
getting
on
your
the table.
2 cents in, without saying how you feel and your constituents feel.
We've discussed it previously
We
several
have, but
times.
we still have a right to we still have to go back and talk to the people we live with in our community and say, this is how I felt and I spoke my mind.
Well, this is
Instead
what
of, they're going to get their decision.
I would
regardless.
deny it.
It's just
That's what
frustrating
I
to
would
me.
do. I
I'm
would
sorry.
just say, no, I don't believe it should go there.
To be
That's my-
I think that the
I
the
believe
best
a
road is a
motion
better
was
site. And I think
started.
that at least I get to say what I think.
To be fair, to Commissioner Ringhayden's point regarding going on the record with our recommendation, the recommendation is laid out in the draft letter, and it's laid out with reasons. It's not just, we recommend against this. It's so if we all sign on to this draft, then we are on the record with our reasoning. I don't know if that's sufficient for what you want to have happen, but it's at least something.
I'm sorry, I apologize for getting excited, but I just think that it's important that we be heard. I wanted my voice to be heard, that I think that that's not the greatest site. I think Best Road is better.
Yeah, and I should point out that I actually appeared physically before the San Benito High School District at one of their meetings to make to reiterate the points that we had made in our meeting, and it didn't make a difference, but it could have. All right, if there's no additional discussion within the commission, then there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second for that? The motion to
I
approve the
second the
draft?
motion.
I'm sorry, say it again?
I second the
Okay,
motion of
great.
Commissioner Robert.
Thank you. All right, I guess we should probably do a roll call on this one, please, Stephanie.
You got
Oh,
it.
wait, sorry, wait. We want to make sure what we're voting on, right? Okay.
Rebecca, would you like to provide like a brief overview for the motion regarding the letter and the contents?
No echo.
No, okay, yeah.
I believe the motion was to move per staff recommendation on the proposed letter to finalize it and send it over to the district tonight
Yeah,
and authorize. So go ahead.
Could you please provide a super brief overview of those recommendations for the motion, please? Thank you.
Yeah, so go ahead.
An overview of, like, repeat the conclusion of my slides, or?
No, I think we're just asking to verify that this is a motion to approve of the disposition of the Pura Vida property and disapprove of the acquisition of the new parcel for the reasons laid out in the draft letter. Is that more or less correct? The understanding that we all have? Okay. Then I think that might be enough to clarify for Commissioner Ringhayden. Okay. All right, so we have a motion and we have a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. District 1, Vincent Ringhayden.
Yes.
District 2, Richard Way.
Yes.
District 3, Robert Scagliotti.
No.
District 4, Robert Gibson.
Yes.
District 5, Catherine Sanchez.
Yes.
That is a 4-1 in favor of staff's recommendation.
Thank you.
Okay, I will route this for the chair's signature, and we will process it to the district today.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just back up for a moment here. It is now 7:30, and I'm thinking it might be a good time to take a brief break. But before we do that, I would like to request a change in the order here, because I note that the next thing that we have on our agenda has to do with the cell phone towers, and I think this is mainly a response or partly a response to something that Commissioner Ringhayden had asked for. And since we have a number of members of the public here who I think are here to perhaps address the BES ordinance, would you, Commissioner Ringhayden, be okay with altering the order of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can move on to the BES ordinance next after a 5 to 10 minute, let's say a quick 10-minute recess. Okay, thank you. Reconvene at 7:42. Thanks. Okay, folks, I have 7:42, and we are reconvening this meeting of the San Benito County Planning Commission. Thank you very much. And as previously mentioned, we're altering the order of the items, and so we'll move on into the item regarding the battery electric storage systems. So if Abraham, take it away, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Good evening again. A little bit of background. On March 10th, 2026, the San Benito County Board of Supervisors adopted a moratorium for the battery energy storage systems, the BESS. And in April 28th, 2026, the moratorium was further extended to 45 additional days for staff to continue working on a draft ordinance for the BESS. And on June 9th, 2026, the Board of Supervisors extended the moratorium to an additional 10 months and 15 days pursuant to the government code provisions for staff to work on this draft ordinance and to present the ordinance to the Commission for recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. Consistent with the board's direction, staff presented the draft BESS ordinance at the regular meeting of the Planning Commission of June 17, 2026. The proposed ordinance addressed land use standards, battery chemistry technology, safety standards and certifications, impact mitigation measures, monitoring requirements, and decommissioning requirements. The Planning Commission continued the item to today's meeting of August 19th, 2026. Some of the comments that were provided during the public comment period at the June 17th meeting consisted and were deliberated by the Planning Commission are as follows, but not limited to comments pertaining to include the requirement of C10 contractors to oversee BESS installation, require BESS electrical work to be performed by state certified electricians under C10 contractor, require a percentage of on-site BESS electrical workers to hold BESS specific SAMTech certification with a 20% recommendation, require early public outreach by the BESS applicants, proper environmental review and monitor requirements, agricultural land protection, evaluate and potentially prohibit nickel, manganese, cobalt, the NMC battery due to thermal runaway concerns, and show the cumulative effects of the areas where BESS would potentially be prohibited per the draft ordinance to identify realistically usable sites. During its deliberation on June 17th, and after hearing and considering public comments regarding the BESS ordinance, the Planning Commission directed staff to further evaluate the potential inclusion prohibition of nickel, manganese, cobalt batteries, as just mentioned, and to show the cumulative areas where BESS would potentially be prohibited to identify realistically usable sites. Staff has provided the information requested in the report and will be showing that in just a little bit. Pertaining to other comments raised by members of the public and deliberated by the Planning Commission, County Council has advised that the Planning Commission can direct staff to add additional requirements to the draft BESS ordinance based on public comments. However, several of the additional recommendations raised will require further legal and technical research to determine their feasibility and legal authority. Therefore, if the Planning Commission would like to pursue these or other additional provisions, staff recommends being allowed to research their legal and technical feasibility where appropriate and return to the Commission with proposed ordinance language. That's just in case additional requirements are asked for by the Planning Commission. The next slide. As indicated during its deliberations on June 17th and after hearing and considering public comments regarding the BESS ordinance, the Planning Commission directed staff to further evaluate the potential inclusion of provision of nickel, manganese, cobalt. In response, Section 25.08.032E1 was included in the draft ordinance as shown on the screen. And therefore, Section E1 provides that BESS facilities regulated under the ordinance shall not utilize NMC battery chemistry or battery technology utilizing nickel, manganese, cobalt. The commission also requested additional mapping exhibits to better illustrate the effects of the proposed BES exclusion areas and other proposed restrictions. Specifically, the planning commission requested a mapping depicting prime ag land, farmland of statewide importance, farmland of local importance, fire hazard severity zones, the proposed half-mile setbacks from the city of Hollister's sphere of influence, the setback for the half-mile setback for the city of San Juan Bautista sphere of influence, the setback for the half-mile for designated, census-designated places, the zoning restrictions, and FEMA designated places. Regarding the FEMA designated places, there is a caveat within the ordinance that indicates that if the applicant submits a letter of map revision or a conditional letter of map revision known as a CLOMAR or a LOMAR to FEMA, and FEMA approves it, basically allowing for the BES to be above the base flood elevation, that then at that point, per the ordinance, the draft ordinance, if adopted, that would not restrict the BES to be placed on that FEMA designated place. So there is a caveat there. The Planning Commission further requested a map combining all of these restricted areas, and that's going to be presented to you in just a little bit, and it's also part of your packet. But the map before you here essentially is the map that shows the prime farmland areas as well as the farmland of local importance and farmland of statewide importance. It also indicates in the light blue area around the gray. The grays are the city of Hollister and the city of San Juan Bautista. The light blue area are the restrictions of the half mile with the sphere of influence, and then also there is that buffer on the census designated places within this map. So this is the Department of Conservation Farmland Monitoring Program depicting the prime statewide and local farming. This next map illustrates BES exclusion zones, particularly pertaining to the fire severity zones, where pursuant to the draft ordinance, BES would be prohibited in all very high and high severity fire zones. And as you can see, it's the majority of the county of San Benito, and there's also in there the setbacks within the half mile of the sphere of influences for the city and the census designated places. This next one is the illustration of the maps per the zoning code. The zoning per the draft ordinance would only allow BES within the industrial zoning districts, public quasi-public zoning districts, and within the agricultural zoning districts, with the exception of prime farmland, farmland of statewide importance, and farmland of local importance. So that map here shows the zoning restrictions. This next map is the combining map with all of the proposed restrictions, including the zoning, the fire severity zones, the FMMP zones, and the setbacks between of the sphere of influence for the city of Hollister, San Juan Bautista, and the census designated places. I do want to note that the information that was provided to you showed that there was approximately 22.68 acres where that were outside of the BES exclusion zones. We were looking at this closely, and there is about approximately 890,550 acres in the county of San Benito.
Abraham, I'm sorry, I have to jump in to correct you real quick here because it's an important distinction.
Yeah.
I think you accidentally said 22.68 acres.
Percent, sorry. You're right.
22.68% of the county. Yes, thank you.
That's what I meant. Thank you so much. I stand corrected. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That is correct. And so instead of the 22.68% of the total acres in the county that would be outside of the BES exclusion zones, it's actually 18.49. Thank you for that. And finally, there is an additional map that was not in your packet, but it is in the showing the FEMA flood zones. Again, the FEMA flood zones, if the applicant were to provide an application of letter of map revision or conditional letter of map revision with FEMA, and if FEMA approves, there would not technically be a restriction because they can apply. The applicant would be able to apply for a conditional use permit with the county of San Benito as long as no other restrictions are included. And so with that, there is an additional approximately 844 acres that would be affected with the FEMA flood zone area. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission of the County of San Benito review the attached ordinance, take public comment, and consider approving the attached resolution, hereby recommending that the Board of Supervisors adopt the attached proposed ordinance, amending San Benito County Code Title 25, Chapters 25.03 and 25.08, and adding 25.0832 battery energy storage as identified in Attachment 8 of this resolution. Otherwise, if the Planning Commission feels that additional information needs to be considered, we would recommend that we allow per the County Council's suggestion, the legal review of it and come back at a later time. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the commission for Abraham? Okay. Hearing none, I guess we'll go ahead and open up public comment on this, please.
Okay, again, in chambers, please provide the clerk with a public speaker card. Through Zoom, if you have any comments, please press the raise hand icon, and when I call on your name, please give me a call. We will start with in chambers. Let's go to Leslie Austin. Please approach the podium. You will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Chair Way and Commissioners. Leslie Austin, a Romus resident of 38 years. I also co-direct a state policy nonprofit. In June, this commission slowed the process down. You saw you were being asked to make something permanent before you fully understood it, so you set it back. And I think that was a good call. In August, the draft answers part of what you asked. The NMC prohibition, fire and safety work is strong, and I'm not here to take anything from it. I'm here because this ordinance decides far more than fire and engineering, and those parts haven't been examined in the same way. There is an appendix in your packet, about 20 issues from the June Board of Supervisors meeting and the Planning Commission discussions, and for each one, whether it was handled, half-handled, or not in there. Workforce and safety, community benefit, agricultural and habitat siting, grid feasibility. Some the draft gets right, some aren't in it at all. The maps are a good example. They show which parcels sit outside the exclusions. That's acreage. What they don't show is which of those are actually workable, near the grid, once every rule is stacked. That's the difference between land that isn't ruled out and land you could really build on. The experts consulted so far have mostly been fire and battery specialists, brought in by staff privately, and that's real solid work. But the questions that remain reach well beyond fire, and they haven't been put to independent experts in public where you and the community can weigh the answers. So my ask, continue this item 1 to 2 months. Direct staff to bring in outside experts in the county that the county specifically selects. Give them one task. Work through the open issues in the record. Give you their read on what belongs in the ordinance and why. However it's structured, those experts should be available to both the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, and both bodies should have that report before voting. Because some of these carry real risk and real cost if they're wrong. Who's liable when something fails? Who pays for cleanup? What the county gets for hosting infrastructure that merely serves the broader grid. That's the ask. Continue it, bring in the experts, hear them in public, and then decide. I think you started this very carefully in June, and I think this lets you finish it in the same way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Stacy McGrady, please approach the podium.
I think she's gone.
Stacy no longer here?
No.
Okay. Lauren Cyphers, please approach the podium.
Hello, good evening, Commissioners. Laren Cyphers with Long Road Energy. When this ordinance was last before you in June, we did submit a written comment letter with a table that goes through our concerns, kind of like line by line. And it was included as part of this agenda item, so it is on the record and hopefully readily available to you. I didn't want to confound today's meeting with another letter or follow-up points, so I hope you have had a chance to review that original. One idea I do want to get across is that the codes that govern the safe implementation and operation of battery energy storage already exist, and they're very rigorous. NFP 855, UL 9540A, California Fire Code, SB 38, those codes were created by experts, in part as a response to the Moss Landing fires, and with the intent and result of protecting counties. So I think the real place to be impactful here with this ordinance is related to compliance of those codes. So rather than creating new ones, and you making sure that my project and also any other projects that come across your desk are meeting the requirements in those codes. And I would like to work with you rather than at you with these extremely brief 3-minute increments. So I'm throwing out the offer and request for the opportunity to chat with each of you about your key concerns related to developing this ordinance and with the technically unrelated but certainly affected solar and storage project that we're developing. I think having some longer discussions about battery safety, this ordinance, our tax revenue projections, and community benefits would be productive. And a final request that you're going to hear me echo for a while is that I would ask that the county allow our project's CUP application to be processed while this ordinance is being finalized. I think something like this, to do it right, takes real time, and that is time that we do not have, as we have already lost a year of potential progress since we submitted our application back in August of 2025. So if you would allow us to take on the risk of processing our permit while this ordinance is being finalized, while still holding the moratorium on any actual approvals, that would be much appreciated. And then I do want to make a note on the map of areas available for BESS. So if you look at that, the county shape, the bottom 2/3 of the county are actually all federal land, like the areas that seem to be available. And some of them even being a national park and a special management area. And so I just wanted to point out that in practice, those are not really available for development. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Ethan B.
Hello, good evening. My name is Ethan. I'm a resident of San Juan Bautista. I'm here today mainly to talk about this battery facility. A little concerned about some of the potential impacts, but I do see that the Planning Commission is doing good work on ensuring safe development of this project. I had a chance to read through a lot of the letters that were in the agenda packet. I agree with a lot of the concerns and the proposals outlined, especially those of Leslie Austin. Especially the one dated August 17th. I think that letter has a lot of good concerns outlined and proposals. Specifically, though, I did want to talk about section 28.08.032E3, owner responsibility for thermal runaway. I do want to commend the Planning Commission on the inclusion of this language, or proposed inclusion of this language. I think it's good language to have. I'm a little concerned about what the enforceability of it would be if it were truly a catastrophic level event, but the language being there is a good first step. And I hope that the county continues to take the precautions to ensure that these kind of developments are ones that will be beneficial for the community, safe for the community. I think that's the concern at the end of the day. I'm not opposed to development. I'm not opposed to new technologies, but I just want to ensure that we're taking every precaution possible and continuing to investigate, foreseeable negative impacts and how we can mitigate those and maintain the safety of the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one, Cheshire.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Cheshire speaking on behalf of IBW Local 234 in the Tri-County area. We're in support of the project, okay? And I want to bring up one comment that was made by a couple board members during the last presentation, is that the school board can do what it wants anyway. The state of California has set goals in regards to energy and in regards to renewable energy. And they have provided AB 205 that if you aren't working toward those goals, there are other ways to get to what they want, to what the state wants. You have a willing developer here. I think you have a good planning department that's put in a lot of work at this time. And I think this really needs a little more vetting. We're tremendously concerned in regards to the areas that have been identified for possible project. And are those really going to be viable? Are they going to meet the needs? You know, are there substations, grids, power lines nearby and such, or are they just out somewhere on the way to New Idria or whatever, okay? That may be in the other county, actually. So, you need to move forward. You've heard from the developer. We encourage you to continue to work with them and such to get what you and your citizens want in a practical manner and to be safe and have that feeling of safety, but to be reasonable and to make it viable. Don't go the road that Santa Cruz went. No, I'll tell you, I live in Monterey County, okay, as a representative for the electricians. And I've seen what Moss Landing did. In fact, I was CEO of the Monterey Santa Cruz Building Trades Council, and we told them don't stack those batteries like that. And that was an obsolete plant prior to it even get going because PG&E right next door in the distribution facility, Tesla came in and put in new technology and such. You'll never have a Moss Landing again in the state. It's not the boogeyman. Don't go down that road. Let's move forward on this. Do what's right for your community, but make it reasonable so it can be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Sophia Schwartzky?
Good evening, Chairway and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Sophia Schwartzky, and I am here on behalf of 3CE, the public agency that procures energy for 1.2 million Central Coast residents, including those here in San Benito County. As you may know, 3CE is responsible for delivering reliable and affordable power to the communities we serve. And battery storage is a critical tool in meeting that responsibility. Storage helps balance supply and demand on the electric grid, particularly during times of peak demand, while reducing reliance on fossil fuel generation, which helps control costs for our customers. We really appreciate the work to develop a local framework for local battery storage. We support rigorous fire safety, emergency response, and technical standards. Our concern is whether the proposed siting restrictions could make a local permitting pathway impossible. This is particularly important due to Assembly Bill 205. If developers determine that a viable local permitting pathway does not exist, projects may instead seek approval through that process, where, again, those decisions are made at the state level rather than the local level. For example, in April, the Energy Commission approved a 300 megawatt battery storage project through this process, and this is after that project had already been denied at the local level. If the county's objective is to retain authority over the review of battery storage projects, it is important that we maintain an achievable pathway. According to the analysis before you tonight, approximately 77% of the mapped area falls within the proposed exclusion zones, leaving about 23% potentially eligible for best development. Those remaining areas must still satisfy additional requirements, including setbacks from residences, sensitive receptors, property lines and public roads, as well as other development standards. They must also be located where a project can realistically connect to the grid. So the amount of land that is technically outside of an exclusion zone may be much greater than the amount of land that is actually viable for energy storage development. We encourage the Commission to consider not simply how much acreage remains on the map, but whether the ordinance leaves a meaningful number of sites where a project could realistically be permitted and interconnected. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Okay, I have no more public speaker cards in chambers. We're going to move over to Zoom. Jessica Holander, please give me a call. Okay, Jessica. Oh, turn off your Zoom.
Okay, so sorry.
Okay, there we go. You have 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Molander, and I am the Policy and Advocacy Associate Manager with
Sorry, Jessica. I just paused your time. You need to turn off your Zoom audio.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Okay, starting over.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Molander, and I am the Policy and Advocacy Associate Manager with Green Foothills. We're a nonprofit dedicated to protecting local nature and farmland to ensure a healthy environment for everyone. And I am a resident of Aromas. We appreciate you and the staff taking on the creation of this ordinance, and of course acknowledge the necessity of developing renewable energy in San Benito and beyond. We're glad to see the protection of prime farmland of statewide importance, and farmland of local importance in the ordinance. But we're unclear whether this ordinance makes agricultural lands outside of these categories more vulnerable to best development than the current zoning ordinance. It would be great to get clarity on this since protecting working lands in San Benito is so important. We also echo other previous comments in requesting that the ordinance consider habitat and wildlife corridors. San Benito is a critical linkage point between the Gavilan Range, the Diablo Range, and the Santa Cruz Mountain. And wildlife needs to be able to move freely through these ranges in order to thrive and survive, and this kind of development can impede that movement. We ask that the ordinance create protections for these wildlife corridors and for the habitat of an endangered, threatened, or special status species. Prop 45, which will be on the ballot in November, would significantly limit the environmental review process for new BEST facilities. It will reduce local control over whether and how the county can require mitigation for environmental impacts through CEQA. So the county cannot rely on CEQA to provide the path to needed mitigation measures for the environmentally harmful aspects of projects. If the county wants to protect farmland, sensitive habitat, and wildlife corridors, they would need to do it through zoning. So this makes it all the more important that this ordinance creates these strong protections now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no more hands via Zoom. Stacy, I see you joined via Zoom. You had a public speaker card in. Please raise your hand if you would like to comment. Otherwise, I have no more public comments in chambers or via Zoom.
Okay, then I guess we'll go ahead and close public comment at this point. And bringing it back to the commission for discussion. Sorry, it looks like you're champing at the bit.
Well, I was thinking before I even saw Miss Austin's letter that this is quite a meaty subject, and perhaps an ad hoc or some other form of working through this over a period of time might be more efficient than doing it at a meeting once a month at the Planning Commission. But I'm not sure now if we have the authority to hold ad hocs due to the costs, or what that would look like, or public workshops per Ms. Austin's letter. What is our ability anymore now that the county is reaping what we've sowed?
I believe that we can, for the ad hoc, I think I think it's just the recommendation for ordinance amendments is what should come before from the board. But if you want to do an ad hoc, and if Rebecca is there just to confirm, I think that's a possibility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
we can, okay, so now I have the answer. So we can form ad hocs and meet, and that's not an issue. It was updating ordinances, but we can request that the board consider it. It's not that we no longer have anything to do with it. We just have to ask the board's permission to do that.
for the board to consider, for the board to okay it. Yes, my understanding.
Thank you for the clarification. So, I don't know. I think we would get more done with an ad hoc myself, but
I'll leave it to all of you to discuss.
I tend to agree, and we actually started down that path way back when Commissioner Ringhayden and I were on such an ad hoc, and that got scuttled basically by legal because of the issues with the board. But yeah, if that's no longer an issue, or if we can get around it by not focusing on things that the board hasn't authorized us to look at, then I would support that.
I support that as well.
Yeah.
I think that's actually,
Yeah.
more information is better.
I do have one concern, though, with regard to the representative from Long Road who suggested meeting with us individually to figure out our concerns. Rebecca, does that raise any issues with regard to creating a serial meeting?
Rebecca, you're on.
Can you clarify just what raised issues with the serial meeting?
Yeah, well, Lauren Cyphers from Long Road had suggested that she would like to meet with us individually to discuss our own individual concerns with regard to her project, which obviously isn't, we're not discussing her project in particular right now, but at some point we will be. Is that creating a serial meeting? In other words, if she talks to three of us or more, have we then had a meeting that is non-public because she's talked to each of us and maybe perhaps shared what the other commissioners' thoughts were, et cetera? We can't do that, right?
Correct. Thank you, Commissioner Way, for raising it. So as you're referring to the serial meeting where you have a series of communication where you get to a quorum of the body, so 3 or more of you guys deliberating or developing a collective concurrence on public business, which is within your guys' jurisdiction outside of a public business or a open public noticed meeting, would be a violation. So that can be not only the daisy chain, but also the hub and spoke where one person is contacting multiple members individually.
However, if we had an ad hoc consisting of only 2 of us, we could meet with her and talk about her issues, correct? Legally?
Yes, an ad hoc could hear issues on the project. That's not a problem.
Okay, as long as it wasn't 3 of us, yeah. Okay, cool. And it wouldn't be if it was an ad hoc. Okay,
I'm
great.
hesitant to make any statements against my client's interest and without further clarification, but based on how you're asking it, it sounds like it would be appropriate.
Right. And I also want to point out, just by way of discussion, that somebody, I believe it was the IBEW representative, stated that they were in support of the project. In fact, I'm sure it was him. I just want to point out that we're not discussing a project tonight. We're discussing ordinances and, potential changes to them. So that's not really on the agenda. Similarly, the Long Road person suggested, I believe, that we could decide to process the cup without having the ordinance locked down. We certainly couldn't do that tonight because that's not on our agenda. So, that would be something that would have to be agendized and publicly noticed, et cetera. That's all I had by way of discussion, but I certainly don't mean to monopolize the discussion. It looks like
Could I just
there's
add that-
people.
If
Yeah,
I could
go
add to
ahead.
that last point, we don't have the authority to lift a moratorium either. That's the
Right.
Board of Supervisors.
Correct.
Right.
Just to clarify
Good
that.
point. Excellent point.
I will volunteer for an ad hoc if you choose to form one.
Okay.
But my only concern is what is staff's ability or availability to do that, like twice a month or something, to get the ball rolling so we're not here in January? I mean, I want to do it right, but I also want to be somewhat efficient and timely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this has been a priority by the Planning Commission. I know that this has been a priority by the board, and so absolutely we can try to accommodate that.
And then invite
every other-
all the interested parties that send us letters and notes and wonderful things.
I think it's been very helpful, like especially getting comments that indicate, what we would like to see that we could work on, and then I think that would give us time to also have county council, hopefully a part of that ad hoc, and have county council weigh in on what can be in the ordinance and what should not be in the ordinance.
Yeah, because as much as I like to hash it out tonight, I don't think we'll be as productive as we could with an ad hoc.
I don't either. And I'm perfectly fine with appointing Commissioner Gibson to
have a
the ad hoc.
question.
Sorry, go ahead.
How many people are on the ad hoc?
It can only be two.
So 2 commissioners. And how do the remainder of the commissioners weigh in to the ad hoc? Or are we not?
We would get input back from the ad hoc to one of our standard meetings, and the ad hoc would present either a report or a presentation or something to the commission as a whole.
I do have comments on the item that's on the agenda. So are we being asked not to
Please.
have that discussion and go ad hoc?
Oh, no, it's on the
No,
agenda.
go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, by all means.
Should I address the particular sections that I have questions on?
You can, Commissioner Sanchez. Yeah, I actually have in the PowerPoint all the sections as well. We can go to it if you mention them.
I don't want to prolong the meeting if you're thinking, we're going to do this ad hoc, so.
No, of
let's-
course, we want to hear your
Okay.
input.
Absolutely, we want to hear it.
Sorry, Chair.
So not looking at your PowerPoint, but just the items that I right now want to comment on. The setback for the residential is, I thought at 500 feet was not something that I was comfortable with. And that's in it's page 109, I guess, on your materials. That you could tell me what the thinking that the 500 was sufficient to be set back from a residential. I was thinking that something along the lines of the 2,000, thinking that we are so protective of agriculture, let's be protective of our residents. So help me with that.
Yeah, absolutely, Commissioner Sanchez. So, because in the agricultural zoning district, there is the ability to allow for residential units at one unit per. Right now, it's 1 unit per every 5 acres. In the rangeland, it's 1 unit per every 20 acres. So there is the ability to have that, but the prime use of the ag is for agricultural, and so therefore, if there is a home that's out there, as we were looking at different jurisdictions and how they had it, the typical setback that we would see in the more restricted site would be like that 500-foot setback, because it's in the ag zoning districts. It's usually you don't see a lot of development. It's kind of more sparsely. So if there is a unit nearby, then where the BES is proposed, then the common setback would be 500 feet. But definitely the planning commission can, if it weighs that it is a safety issue, it can definitely increase it if that's the request.
I'd just like for the record that is my request. I don't know. rest of the commission is supportive of that, but if you go to ad hoc, I would like you to have that discussion because if it's one resident, it's still residents of our county that it would be close to. And then recall, I thought at the last meeting I asked for the security cameras to have a look back of at least 3 days. And I don't have a lot of understanding about security cameras, but at a minimum, and perhaps the technology already does that with exceeding that, but and I know that immediately seeing a problem, there would be a reporting to law enforcement, but I want that to be part of what's required. The only other, the mention of the state law, and it's already written, the protections for our county are very important, and I want to see them stay strong. I would not want them walked back. And if that were the direction of the ad hoc, of pulling them back because the state's already written something, that I don't believe is protective of where our county needs to go. That's all I had.
Camera.
Sorry?
I think the screen went black.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see it. Sorry. Okay, then I am inclined personally to go ahead and create such an ad hoc. I know Commissioner Gibson wants to be on it, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I think Commissioner Ringhayden would probably still want to be on it, given his background in electricity.
I would.
You would, okay. Well, that unfortunately fills the ad hoc in terms of what we're legally allowed to do. So
I would, if you chair.
Yeah.
If it kills it, I would rather.
No, I said fills.
Oh, fills
it. Sorry. No, sorry.
I don't know why I thought.
My enunciation. No, what I was getting at was I was considering appointing Commissioner Sanchez to the ad hoc, but I can't, and I would honestly, given your background as an electrician, I think it would be more valuable to have you on the ad hoc, and then the ad hoc can come back with recommendations, and I would point out to Commissioner Sanchez that even if the ad hoc comes back with recommendations that are incomplete or that the rest of the commission doesn't agree with, we're not under any obligation to accept the ad hoc's recommendations or not to alter them or not to add to them. So we are perfectly free to say, well, thank you for your work, but we're going in a different direction. Is that okay with you, Commissioner Sanchez?
Thank you for the explanation of the ad hoc, and yes, I look forward to the report from the ad hoc.
Okay. Then I'm going to appoint Commissioner Gibson and Commissioner Ringhayden to an ad hoc to continue to study the BES ordinances with a view towards what we might need to additionally incorporate and or change in the draft that's currently present. And I would like to see a report from that ad hoc within the next 2 meetings, maybe by the second meeting after tonight, the second regular meeting after tonight, if you think that's enough time.
October.
Would that be
October 21st? We should definitely have, hopefully, a lot of work done by then if we're meeting multiple times a month.
Okay, all right, then let's have the ad hoc come back with a report on October 21st. Thank you.
Chair,
Yes, please.
come back on October. I will be out of the country.
Well, as long as you've presented your ideas and incorporated them into a report that Commissioner Gibson can present on your behalf, that would probably be perfully
Or
fine.
cancel your trip.
Is that okay with you, Commissioner?
Yes, sir, because I'll have all your input from being on the meeting, so, and I'm sure we'll have agreed to a lot of stuff, so we'll be good to go.
Look forward to it.
We just need to work with staff on dates and times.
Yep.
And then let all the interested parties know.
Okay, so in terms of disposing of this particular item then, I guess we need probably a motion to continue the item itself until such time as the ad hoc gets us a report back.
Yep.
So should we continue the item itself until the October meeting as well?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this item is continued until October 21st. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is a discussion of Chapter 7.11 Code Standards for Wireless Telecommunication and some revision options to consider. So it looks like Stephanie is ready to talk about that.
Yes, I have to apologize.
Let's continue it.
The subject is misleading. That's my fault. We will not be talking about code standards or some revisions.
Well, if that's the case, then we may have a noticing issue because the agenda included that wording. And if that's the case, we should probably just consider continuing the item.
Yep.
Okay, well, the background summary still includes everything we were going to discuss. It's a brief update.
Even so, I think, given the fact that this item was requested by the commission, it seems as though the will of the commission might be to continue it.
Yeah. No harm, no foul.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Can I forward any questions to the staff but we should not discuss it here, you're letting me know. I can
I'm not
forward
saying-
questions.
Well, we haven't actually voted on continuing it or not, so it might not actually end up being continued. But yes, absolutely, you can always forward questions to staff. But continuing it simply means that it wouldn't be heard tonight, and it would just come back to us at the next meeting exactly as though she were here tonight presenting it. She would just start from that point. So you wouldn't be missing anything by us continuing it.
Yeah, no, I'll just send my questions to the staff.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Do we have a motion to continue?
So moved to next month.
Yeah.
Be
To
September 16th. That is my motion.
Second.
Okay, I guess maybe we, go ahead, Vincent.
We just need to vote.
Nothing? Okay. All right, and then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. I think we have, let's see, future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items to discuss? I don't think so. Commissioner announcements.
No.
I have, it's not an announcement, it's kind of a complaint. I really, really want these Zoom errors corrected before the next meeting. I don't know what it's going to take to do that, but if we have to engage the IT staff more directly or for a greater amount of time or something, whatever needs to be done, it needs to be fixed. This cannot happen again. So I would appreciate it if you guys would do whatever it takes to make that happen. Thank you.
Oh, and thank you for getting our packet to us on the correct date. Much appreciated.
Yes, thank you very much. That is greatly appreciated. Let's do it again next month.
We'll do our best.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Must be the new girl. I'll bet it is.
She did help. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I think the next item on our business is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposition. Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned at 8:30. Thank you.
Big money. Big money.